Now, moving on, the thought of farming does not appeal to many young people who would rather prefer to pursue upmarket jobs. But the reality remains that more people are needed to take up farming as Ghana strives to attain food security. On World Food Day, Joy News' Adelaide Arthur explores how a school farm is helping to feed students of Okuapemai Senior High School and whipping up interest in farming among the next generation.
It's time for lunch, and local delicacy wache is on the menu on Fridays at Okuapemai Senior High School in the Eastern region. The meal is served with eggs from the school's poultry farm, which was started 4 years ago. Each of the 2,500 students is fed at least 1 egg every week. This is why authorities consider the school's farm project a relevant endeavor.
It comes to support in the nourishment of the students. We are already selling some of the produce. We are not just selling to the public, we are also delivering to sister schools. At least we have 3 schools where they come to pick eggs here to feed their students.
Here at the livestock farm, there are about 50 goats and sheep, 19 rabbits, 36 ducks, and more than 2,200 fowls.
They've been here for 1 year, 4 months, and they are still laying. But the point is, in no time, we would have to dispose them because they've been laying for quite some time. And economically, it will not be prudent to keep the birds because their laying efficiency will drop, but they will be consuming the same quantity of feed. This breed is a Bovans Gold Line. They are very good layers. These are rabbits, and we use these ones for practical lessons for both agric students and non-agric students. Now, when students come here, what we take them through is they first have to know the breed and the type of rabbit. Then we take them through feeding, the importance of even keeping the rabbits.
Farm hands do a lot of the work, but students also spend a few hours here each week helping to feed the livestock.
I'm very proud to be an agri student. Our teachers teach us how to feed them, give them water, and then some vaccinations, how to make sure the farm is clean.
During the weekends, we, the students, come here at 7:30 to give a helping hand. I would like to be an extension officer in future, but with that, I'll be having a backyard poultry farm, which will enable me get some source of meat and eggs for my home. Working over here gives you the first-hand, upper hand for you to know some management practices. You will be able to go into poultry production. So if you are able to feed them, vaccinate them, and do a lot of stuff over here, you'll be able to go into the production with ease.
Mixed cropping. What is mixed cropping?
Mixed cropping is a system of farming in which the farmer cultivates different kinds of crops on the same piece of land.
These first-year agricultural science students are starting to learn the basics in farming. Their classroom is sited close to the farm, which school authorities say is convenient as the students are exposed as much as possible to practical agricultural work.
The intent is to expose all the students to gain experience and then take delight in raising animals, in farming. So we don't just involve the agric students, but all other students come on board. But due to the sensitive nature of the birds, we don't usually allow non-agric students close to birds. However, on the other crop farms, there is a schedule where students from the other departments have their turns in going to the farms.
Okuapemai is also a model school, which is piloting the Food Farms for Schools project, a component of government's Planting for Food and Jobs policy. 2 weeks ago, students planted 3 acres of maize. They expect to harvest around mid-December. This will be their second harvest.
We have about 5-acre land, but at the moment we have 3 under cultivation. The other 2 was cultivated during the major season, and then the 3 is for the lean season. At the moment, we are shelling the one that we harvested from the major season, and hopefully by January, when students come back, it will be ready for use in the kitchen to feed the students. We intend adding cassava so that we go into gari processing, since it forms one of the major food items used in the school.
The students come here often to care for the plants.
We started with preparation of the land, and the preparation was done by the school laborers. And then the planting too was done by some of the staff and then students. The required seed to plant is, the maximum one is 3, and then the minimum maybe 2. So because the students, some of them don't know how to, they do the wrong things instead of doing the right thing. So they planted more than required seed. Okay. So we have to thin out, and then the thinning out is the process of removing the excess seed germinated from seedlings, from the stand per stand, so that they will get amount of air.
Extension officers from the Agriculture Department of the Akuapem North Municipal Assembly pay frequent visits to the farm, providing useful advice on how to manage the maize farm. After inspecting the farm on Friday, they advised it was time to protect the young plant against fall armyworms, which have devastated many maize farms across the country.
During my field visit today, we didn't see anything, but we want to be more proactive so we don't have any attack. So we are planning to apply a pesticide that is designed to combat the fall armyworm to the plant within the next 2 days or 3, so that we would be very sure we are safe against the armyworm attack.
Authorities say the school farm could still use support from the public to help scale up this admirable project.
Quite a number of our structures are run down to the extent that where we want to permanently keep our ruminants, the building is not roofed presently. So a shed over that will come in very handy. Again, one of the large structures that would have wished to put in beds there is also not very ready. So if that structure is also renovated and put into convenient use, then we'll be able to do what we intend doing. Again, the classroom that we use, which is on the agric farm, it is dwarf wall. Anytime it rains, it puts some difficulty in handling classes in there.
We check the ones that are diseased and weak.
For this school, the focus is to generate interest in farming among young people and ultimately raise a generation of individuals who are passionate about producing food and not afraid to get their hands dirty.
Adelaide, after the helping some of us reminisce our days in school farms. But the effect of migration on food security cannot be overemphasized. In Ghana, reports suggest food production from the Brong-Ahafo region, which is the nation's food basket, has reduced due to both internal and international migration. October 16 marks World Food Day. This year, the day is being commemorated under the theme, Changing the Future of Migration, Invest in Food Security and Rural Development. With me in the studio is Charles Nyaba, Program Officer, Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, to help us expand the conversation on food security. Thank you very much, Mr. Nyaba, for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
I'm sure you were very excited to see young people.
I think they made my day.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, I'm glad I was a part of that. So let's go to the issue of food security. How would you describe the current state of food security in Ghana in our bid to attain food security? How are we doing?
Thank you, Daniel. Let me first of all thank the farmers who with all the challenges they go through, they are able to stand and they make available food for all of us to consume and sit here and discuss. The food security situation in Ghana, if you're looking from let me take it 10 years from now, 2007 to 2017, we've made some progress compared to looking at where we are coming from. But we still have a greater percentage of people being malnourished from the Three Northern region. Now, if you look at the figures from Upper West, Upper East, Northern region, Brown Harford, the food security situation continues to worsen as you go up north, with Upper West recording 34% as at 2013 figures, Upper East 15%, Northern region 11%, and then Brown Harford region about the same figures. So, though we've made some progress, but looking at the progress that we are making globally, I would have expected that we move faster than that. Now,
so what's the global figure now?
Globally, if you look at the world figure, we have the undernourished people to be 20%. But Africa figures are really worse than that. And then if you look at US, we have less than US, and then US, we have less than 2% of people being poor. So looking at all the investment we are making, and then in the face of increasing population, one would have expected that we move faster than we are doing. Now, even if you look at the AFO 2017 report, you realize that the progress that we made over the years is eroded because 2016 figures are worse than 2015. Now that we are projecting to hit 9.8 billion globally from our current 7.7 billion people, it means that, according to AFO, for us to be able to feed this increased population, which is about 2.2 billion, African countries need to increase their food production by 104% in order for us to be able to
104%?
Yeah.
Wow.
We need to
over
do
what
that.
period?
And now, from now to 2030. Now, let's look at the progress we are making, whether we will get there. If you look at from 2010 to 2016, Ghana, we've not made much progress in terms of our agriculture contribution. I'll give you the figures later.
I would love it if you can run through them quickly.
Yeah. Now, let's see whether there is hope. Because, as I say, there are certain policies that we do that one should be able to project whether we'll go far. In the past, I think efforts were made to improve the economy. But I think for agriculture, we've not really done much. There were a lot of road infrastructure, which is good, especially if those roads were linking to rural areas. There were a lot of schools. There were a lot of hospitals. Now let's ask ourselves, how many rural industry, agro-industries were created? You cannot provide an answer to that. How many dams were created for irrigation purposes? We haven't done much. For 2017, I think we are making some efforts, because if government is going to invest more into creating irrigation facilities at the dams, creating agro-based industries, that's good. Now, the question I asked, I just want to conclude on that. I'm going to. You see, we are doing something that, at the end of the day, we are calling people out of agriculture. Because if you are encouraging people to go to school by trying to provide them with allowances and other things, I expect that normally we give incentives to attract people to a sector or to call investors to that sector. So, for instance, if you don't have many youth having interest in agriculture and want to encourage people to go into agriculture, what do? We have to put investment that will attract them to go. But are we doing that? For instance, I had the agric students demonstrating and over lack of allowance. I was really surprised, because I'm looking at the investment that the current government is putting in agriculture. Fantastic. So if you actually want to attract the youth to go there, because we did a research, and then you have over average population of the farmer, age of the farmers being 56 years, because you don't have many youth going there. They are not going there because the kind of education that we give them doesn't attract them to go there. You understand? Now, if you give the allowance, personally, I'm a trained teacher. I went to the teacher training college because those days, when you go there, you will get some allowance, and then you live better than your colleagues. So that attracted me to go. So if you want to call youth to go into agriculture, and at the end of the day, they remain in the rural areas to work and feed all of us, the first point of call is to try to put incentives that will attract people to go into that sector. But if you rather see that a sector like teachers, of which we really have more, I'm not saying they shouldn't give them, but I'm thinking that we should prioritize the agriculture training colleges and put more incentives to attract them. That's one. Now,
I want to bring in this question because you've been talking about how it would be necessary for us to have policies which would make people want to stay in rural areas more. Which is one of the aims of this World Food Day that we are having. At the moment, it's projected that by 2030, 50% of Africans will be living in urban areas. At the moment, the figure is around 40%. And looking at the way that is growing, do you think that these 3 programs which government is front-loading, Planting for Food and Jobs, 1 district, 1 factory for agro-industries, and 1 village, 1 dam for irrigation in the northern part of Ghana, do you think that is the magic trick to help with this urbanization challenge in Africa and Ghana?
Yeah, it's good. It's good, but I think that alone cannot do the bit. Just like we saw from Akwa Senior High, that is typical example that I would expect to see. When we were in JSS those days, agriculture science was a core subject. You go to SS, it's a core subject. Now you go there, it's only those who are specializing in those areas who will learn. I'm thinking that if we are making English language a core subject, making integrated science a core subject, we should equally look at that.
But integrated science includes some agriculture.
No, but just a bit of it. And I think that is not enough because Ghana is an agrarian country. So actually, if you want the sector to do more, we have to actually catch the young people from the beginning to have interest in it so that when they go up, they don't go out. Many graduates go from SS and then universities, even from farm families. No parent or many parents will not encourage their kids to come back to farm. The reason why we have high migration in the cities and then outside Ghana is that our educational structure is such that once the poor begin to, the poor of which majority are rural poor, begin to invest more in their kids to go to school. When they finish, they think that the agriculture sector is not motivating enough for their kids to come back and join them in the same area. So even today, from the observation we made in our office, we even realized that farm household graduates are more likely to leave agriculture than people who are not farmers.
Which comes back to the point you made about the average age of a farmer being around 56. That is serious. Looking at the fact that life expectancy in Ghana is 55 to 60. And the median age in Ghana at the moment is 21. That means that the majority of people who are in farming are on their way, excuse me to say, to their graves. And the majority of the people who are alive and well are not interested. But is it just about education? Because there seems to be a way of packaging the profession itself that makes it unattractive.
Yeah, I think information is one of them. The information that people have in agriculture is limited. Because if you ask, I have young graduates who come to our office. They say, oh, we want to work with your office. I said, okay, our work is merely practical. We have demonstration sites and other things in Brown Half region that we think you can go. They say, oh, no. For that one, we prefer to be in Accra. So it's like the way we package the information. Now let's go back to the government policy on the 1 dam, 1 village, and then 1 district, 1 factory. That is fantastic. And I think that is the baseline. We should have done this years ago. But still, there are still fundamental problems that we need to look at. I was in Ashama last week to assess how the farmers were benefiting from these projects. Old lady came to me and said, my son, yes, this year I got the seed, I got the fertilizer. But my
That's under Planting for Food and Jobs.
I got the seed, I got the fertilizer, but the land is there. I can't tell it. I'm old. And my child, when he even comes from school, he has no interest in joining me. But if we were having power tillers that we use to till the land, then I think that this guy would have been interested in joining me. So in the first place, there are some basic things that the farmers are requesting for. They are not saying that these power tillers be given to them free. But what you were saying that the power tillers should be available for her to go and hire. Another farmer said, I harvested my rice. There's no market. The market women will come and take it any price that they want. So I got the input all right. I produce. I am harvesting. Where am I going to sell? So these are the other areas that we need to actually look at. So if you want these things to work, we actually need to look at it, because agriculture is
about the provision of markets for produce, which you just mentioned.
Yeah.
I clearly remember that it is a part of the Planting for Food and Jobs program. Yeah. It is actually the last leg. It was announced by the minister. Yeah. Have you gone into ways to find out how it's going to be produced?
Yeah. I think a National Food Buffer Stock, NAFCO, has been tasked to take that responsibility, which I go for it 100%. I had discussion with the Oil Palm Association of Ghana, and I was so impressed that they said NAFCO released that component of school feeding program to all the secondary schools under the free SHS program for them to supply them with the oil palm. And then I also spoke to oil palm growers who are so happy they are trying to expand their work. So I'm thinking that if the same things should translate into all the other areas, then we directly engage the farmer associations directly to produce and then supply to this school feeding program. Then our issue of marketing would have come down.
Okay, Mr. Nyaba, let's take your final words. It's been such a great conversation, but we would have to end.
Yeah, one thing I want to say is that farmers are producing. There are even the over 8 farmers in the communities are producing. How we get this food to the urban area is still a problem. Because certain times we just look at the major actors, like fertilizer distributors, big time growers. What about the retailers who are supposed to convey the tomato from Tono to Accra for us? You go to Accra Mall, and we spend a lot of money importing tomato, importing cabbage. Yet the same thing is produced. You go to Brown Half region, they produce a lot of cabbage, and the cabbage remain in the field. Watermelon, garden egg, yet we import the same thing from outside. So we need to actually rethink, go back and look at those small actors who can actually address the challenges that we have in the urban area. Right. And I think when we do that, we'll move forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Charles Nyaba. He's a programs officer at the Peasants Farmers Association of Ghana. And Mr. Nyaba, we are hoping that next time you bring some of the produce here. So
yeah, I will.
You can enjoy it. That's just by the way. Okay.